Kael sprints through a rain-choked alley with his tattered hood whipping behind him, and the glutton sigil on his hand burns like a brand because the system has decided he isn't a person anymore. He's an anomaly contain, and if the hunters catch him tonight, they'll cage him before he can ever eat his way out of the gutter. The city used to have names on the doors and warmth in the windows. Now it has floating blue prompts that don't care if you're freezing. Warning, containment unit deployed. Kael doesn't need the message. He can feel it in the way the air tightens, like someone is pulling invisible cords across the street. The system's enforcers don't run like guild thugs. They don't shout insults or promise rewards. They arrive the way a sentence arrives at the end of a trial. Kael cuts left, boots skidding on slick stone, and his stomach answers with a cruel twist. Hunger isn't pain anymore. Hunger is a voice. Eat. He clamps his jaw hard enough that his teeth creak. He can't just eat anything. Not here. Not with civilians scrambling and monsters prowling the outskirts and every over-eager scavenger ready to scream for a bounty. He learned that the first time he devoured a class, power came with weight and weight came with attention. A cracked shop window flashes his reflection as he passes, gaunt cheeks, amber eyes too bright, ash-black hair plastered to his forehead with rain. He looks like what the apocalypse left behind. He also looks like a weapon the world once locked away. Ahead, the alley mouths into a wider street where broken signage swings and system light flickers across puddles. Kael slows for half a heartbeat, listening. Bootsteps. Not one set, many. Two coordinated. Then the street's puddles shiver without a breeze and thin lines of pale light sketch themselves across the ground. A grid. Kael's throat goes dry. Containment, he breathes, though nobody answers. The lines climb the walls, drawing a luminous cage that doesn't exist yet, but already feels heavy on his lungs. He throws himself backward just as the grid snaps upward like a trap springing shut. The street is sealed, and Kael is on the wrong side of it. He lands hard, palms scraping. The glutton sigil flares, and for a split second he sees it the way the system sees him, an error that learned to bite. On the far end of the trapped street, figures step into view through the rain. 3 in matte, slate-colored coats with metallic collars that catch the system glow. Their faces are hidden behind pale masks, carved with simple, expressionless mouths. Enforcers. One lifts a hand, and a blue window unfolds in the air between them. Directive: recover anomaly. Kael scrambles up, breaths coming in sharp white bursts. He scans for exits. The grid lines pulse whenever he nears them, reacting like a living thing. No way through, no time. His stomach lurches again. Eat. There's something else in the street besides enforcers and rain. A low, wet clicking from the collapsed storefronts. A shadow shifts under a broken awning. A monster, one of the new ones, the kind that crawled out of the system's dungeons when the world cracked open. It drags itself forward on too many jointed legs, chitin gleaming like oil, a maw full of needle teeth. The enforcers don't even glance at it. They're here for Kael. Kael's gaze locks on the creature, and saliva floods his mouth like his body has already decided. He hates that. He hates the way Glutton turns fear into appetite. But he hates cages more. The monster lunges at the nearest warm thing, Kael, and Kael doesn't dodge. He steps into it. The creature's teeth rake across his cloak, ripping fabric, and Kael grabs its head with both hands. His scarred forearms strain. He feels the monster thrash, hears the snapping of its legs against the stones. Then Kael opens his mouth and lets the hunger out. Not a bite, not teeth, devour. The air around the monster shudders as if reality inhales. The chitin dims, its frantic movements slowing, and a dark, invisible pull draws it toward Kael's hand, where the sigil burns brightest. The monster makes a sound like a sob through broken glass. Kael's eyes go wide as heat floods his veins, raw strength, the sharp, metallic tang of foreign mana, the sensation of something alive being erased. He swallows hard. Devour successful. Acquired, skill fragment, carapace. Acquired, minor stat increase. Kael staggers, knees nearly buckling. Power settles into him like heavy food after starvation. Too much, too fast, but his body greedily tries to keep it all. The enforcers finally move. One glides forward with a smoothness that feels wrong, like their feet aren't obeying the ground. Another raises a slender rod that hums, and the containment grid brightens. Kael clenches his devouring hand. The sigil's glow seeps between his fingers. Carapace. He doesn't know how to cast a skill. He doesn't have a clean system interface like rankers do. He has hunger and instinct and stolen pieces, so he thinks of shells, of the monster's chitin resisting every scrape. His skin prickles. A thin, rough layer creeps across his forearms and the back of his hand like forming scabs made of dark armor. It's ugly, imperfect, but it's something. The first enforcer closes the distance, reaching for Kael's wrist like he's grabbing a stray dog by the scruff. Kael swings. His fist connects with the mask, and the impact rattles up his arm. The enforcer slides back a step, not stumbling, just recalibrating. The mask cracks. A sliver breaks off, and behind it there's no flesh. Only a cold, pale glow, like a screen turned to max brightness. Kael's stomach drops. These aren't just people with a job, they're system puppets. The cracked enforcer tilts its head, and the blue window between them updates. Threat level elevated. Kael backs away, heart hammering. If they're not fully human, can he devour them? Can he eat a piece of the system itself? His hunger answers with a thrilled, desperate twist. Eat. The grid pulses as the second enforcer slams the rod into the ground. A wave of pale light rolls toward Kael's ankles like fog with teeth. Kael jumps, but the light clings, forming bands around his shins that tighten with every breath. Containment is not a cage made of bars, it's a rule. Kael hits the stones, the bands yanking him down. He scrapes, claws at the glowing restraints, and his fingers sizzle as if he's touching hot iron. The third enforcer steps forward, and its voice finally arrives. Flat, genderless, and too clear. Anomaly. Comply. Kael laughs once, hoarse and ugly. I don't belong to you. He plants his palms on the ground. The glutton sigil presses to wet stone. If containment is a rule, then maybe he can eat rules. His hunger surges so hard it makes his vision tunnel. Devour. He doesn't aim at the enforcers, he aims at the restraints. The glowing bands resist. They're not matter the way a monster is. They're a system construct, an instruction made solid. For a breath, nothing happens. Then the sigil flares like a small sun, and Kael feels it. An icy bitter taste that isn't blood or mana, but something more abstract. Authority. It's like biting into a lock. The restraints shudder. The blue windows above the enforcers flicker. Error. Anomaly interference detected. Kael's throat burns as if he's swallowing shards. The hunger screams with pleasure and agony at once. The bands loosen. Not gone, just weakened. Kael wrenches one leg free, then the other, rolling to his feet as the enforcers pause for the first time, like their script has been disrupted. That pause is all Kael needs. He bolts toward the brightest edge of the grid. The lines climb the air like a wall of light. Kael throws his devouring hand forward and slams his palm into it. Pain explodes up his arm, white hot, and the smell of scorched rain fills his nose. But beneath the pain is a taste. Clean and sterile and endless. The system. Kael's teeth clench so hard his jaw trembles. His whole body shakes as hunger tries to pull more than his flesh can hold. Devour. The grid stutters. A rectangle of light thins, dimming like a lamp starved of power. Kael forces his hand through the weakness, and the air on the other side feels colder, freer. He yanks his body after it, scraping his shoulder against the burning edge, and he spills out of containment like a swallowed thing being vomited back into the world. Behind him, the grid snaps brighter, repairing itself, sealing the street again with the enforcers trapped on the inside. Kael doesn't stop running. He plunges into a maze of ruined lanes, lungs shredding, cloak dragging in puddles. His stolen carapace flakes at the edges, already fading, but the power inside him remains. Heavy, restless. And the taste of authority still coats his tongue. He rounds a corner into an abandoned market square where broken stalls sag like dead ribs. He ducks behind an overturned cart and presses his back to the wood, trying to quiet his breathing. The glutton sigil pulses slowly now, like a heartbeat in his hand. Then the blue windows begin to appear on their own. not the clean pop-ups he's seen over other people. These are jagged, glitching. Anomaly action logged, containment protocol escalated, new designation, priority entity. Kael stares, rain dripping from his lashes. Priority, he whispers, so it's not just the guilds anymore, it's the system taking him personally. A memory flashes, hands grabbing him in episode 2, the first taste of containment, the suffocating certainty that no matter how fast he ran, the world itself could be told to stop him. He flexes his fingers. The skin where the grid burned him is blackened and cracked, and under the pain, the hunger is changing. It's not just wanting food, it wants direction, it wants the source. Kael looks down at his palm as if it might open like a mouth. "What are you?" he murmurs, not expecting an answer. The answer comes anyway, not in words but in sensation, an echo of that sterile taste. A map made of appetite. Somewhere nearby, something system-made is moving. Not an enforcer, bigger. Kael raises his head, listening past the rain. At first, there's only the distant groan of settling ruins. Then he hears it, a rhythmic, heavy clicking, like massive joints locking into place. A shadow passes across the square, though there's no light source strong enough to cast it. Kael slowly leans out from behind the cart. At the far end of the market, between two collapsed buildings, a figure steps into view. It's tall, too tall, wrapped in a mantle of pale geometric light that bends the rain around it. Where its face should be is a smooth pane that reflects Kael back at himself. And above its head, a title appears in perfect blue text. System Warden. Role, Anomaly Containment. Kael's mouth goes dry. This isn't a hunter sent by the system, this is the system standing up. The warden's reflection face tilts, and Kael sees himself in it, gaunt, shaking, hungry, and suddenly very small. Then the warden raises one hand, and the air around Kael's throat tightens like an invisible collar. Kael claws at it, eyes wide, feet scraping for purchase. The glutton sigil flares in panic. Hunger roars. Eat. Kael forces his devouring hand upward toward the unseen chokehold, and as his palm opens, the warden's perfect blue text updates with chilling calm. Containment method, memory seal initiated. Kael's vision blurs, not from lack of air, but from something worse, images peeling away at the edges, like someone is trying to erase him from his own mind. He gasps, and the only thought that survives the rising white noise is raw and savage. If it can seal memories, then it can unmake him. So Kael does the only thing he's ever been allowed to do. He tries to bite back. Devour.